chair to be seated. So chair. Chair, fellow speakers, and no guests tonight. What time do you call this? Well, that title lends itself to an admonishment, doesn't it? And perhaps in the language we can hear a disgruntled wife bemoaning a drunken husband's late return, or a stressed and anxious parent remonstrating with a blissfully unaware child who's been out playing with friends and has come home hours past their tea time. Well, don't worry, I'm not telling anyone off tonight. But time is something that we all either have too much of or too little, depending upon what we're doing at any given time. But did you know that whilst our minds have a wonderful agenda for how we spend the hours of our day, our body literally has a plan all of its own? This evening I'm going to share with you what, according to something called the Chinese body clock, is happening with some of your internal organs as you go about your daily and nightly business. Have you ever noticed that around about 3 o'clock in the afternoon we hit that sort of energetic slump? You know, sitting in a meeting and rubbernecking and just not being able to wait till it's all over. Or have you ever wondered what it is? You can go to bed really late, or technically really early in the small hours of the morning, and wake up the next day feeling like you've been out on the sauce all night when you've not actually even so much as had a sniff. Well, I might have some answers for you this evening on those questions. I'm not able to go into masses of detail around this for you tonight because I don't have time. And it's a vast subject, but I will hope to give you a flavour and get you thinking about what's going on inside your body, when and why. And I'm going to leave you dangling at the end with a question. So according to Chinese medicine, excuse me, each of our organs, of which there are 12, has a 2-hour period of optimum function within the 24 hours that makes up our day, which is essentially our circadian rhythms, circadian meaning about day. And these organs are all organised and their timings are in a particular order which enables our body to fulfil its essential processes. So a day begins at 3 in the morning with the lung, which is all about inspiration, breathing, very important thing, isn't it, particularly as speakers. Life begins with breath and literally ends with the absence of it. Lungs also associated with the emotion of grief, so oftentimes people with a bereavement will find themselves waking between 3 and 5 in the morning. Now, 5 o'clock comes the large intestine, or the colon. So, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands here, but if anybody struggles with stubborn bowels, they would do well to wake up in the morning quite early and get themselves on the throne between 5 and 7 to facilitate a better evacuation, shall we say. And then after that, so we've breathed in, we've had our inspiration, we've let go of something, and then we're ready to fuel our day with a good breakfast, because the stomach's energy peaks between the hours of 7 and 9 in the morning. So we should wake up and have a great big breakfast to fuel our day. But we don't, do we? Oftentimes we wake up feeling a bit heavy and sluggish and we just neck a load of caffeine and make it through the day. Have you ever heard that adage, breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper? Well, that fits perfectly with this Chinese body clock thing. It's also really good to bear in mind that whilst the stomach is peaking between 7 and 9 in the morning, it's at its weakest between 7 and 9 at night, when most people give it a big job to do. So they come home from work, really hungry because they've not been eating properly through the day, they have a great big dinner with a dessert and maybe a couple of coffees or glasses of wine or something like that, and it sits in your stomach. And the stomach's got no power to digest, so it just sits there, and then you go to bed, and then you go to sleep. When you wake up in the morning, you don't fancy breakfast because your stomach's literally still filled with the meal from the night before in a semi-digested, semi-putrefied state. So, that might make you think a little differently about having a big dinner. Anyway, so through the morning and then early afternoon, we have various other organs involved in digestion and absorption and distribution and God knows what. And then we hit this 3 o'clock thing. So when we get that tired, that sort of slumped feeling. And that is because that's the time of the bladder, which is known as the reservoir of our energy. So if you're getting to 3 o'clock and you've got nothing left, you'd be advised to take a break, take a holiday, take some time off, and top your pots up so you've got something in your reservoir. And then, whilst lung kicks everything off for us at 3 in the morning, it's the liver's job to close the deal. And it does this between the hours of 1 and 3 at night, or the early hours of the morning. Now this amazing organ has the job of cleaning us all up, and now in order to do this, we should be at rest. And the liver needs us to be out of the equation, so it needs us to be properly asleep, so that we're not interfering with it. So I'm going to give you an analogy give you an example of what that means. Well, if you imagine a busy office and you've got several cubicles of workers and they're all doing their thing, and there's lots of noise and they're making phone calls and tapping on keyboards and filling up waste paper baskets, drinking mugs of coffee, and there's tables strewn with leftover lunches and plates and everything else. And at the end of the day, all these people go home and the job's done and off they go. And the cleaner comes in to do its job. Maybe a maintenance guy comes in as well. So the cleaner goes round and empties the bins and washes up all the mugs and all the plates, vacuums round, does a good job, and off they go. Cleaner's had satisfaction, knows the job's done, and is ready for the workers to come in the next day. But imagine instead, if you were awake, it would be like, so for your liver, if you're awake during your liver hours, it would be like that cleaner coming in when you're trying to do a job of work during the day. Trying to make phone calls and the cleaner's got the vacuum on and you can't hear, so I'm trying to close a deal here, shut it off. And the cleaner's all frustrated because the bins are filling up and the mugs are always being used and no one gets any satisfaction. So that's why it's very critical for us to be deeply asleep between 1 and 3 in the morning. You didn't give me any time in the end, yeah?
Yeah, you could.
Oh, okay.
You did put the lights on.
No, it's not, we're not there.
Oh, I'm ahead of myself.
You are
Anyway.
You nearly actually agree.
3, 2, 1.
Well, hopefully, this has given you.
Here's a life skill.
Hopefully, you need some life
There
skills.
you are.
Okay, I'll just carry on anyway.
Carry on, carry on.
That's the green one. Turn it on.
This has given you something to think about. But do you remember I said that I would leave you with a question? Well, much as I enjoy spending my time with my fellow speakers every other Thursday evening, can anyone guess what we might better be doing between the hours of 7 and 9 in the evening? What time do we call this? Keep it to yourselves if you can work it out.
Okay.